At a certain abandoned prison, there is an inmate named James. If you leave a lit cigarette on the bars of the prison cell he died in, he will take a drag from that cigarette. Hidden in the mountains of Tennessee is a prison that was nicknamed the End of the Line and the Alcatraz of the East. For over 100 years, it held the worst felons in Tennessee. Its name is Brushy State Penitentiary. It opened in 1896 in the aftermath of the Coal Creek War. This labor conflict was eventually resolved. The Tennessee state legislature passed a bill to abolish the convict labor system and to be replaced with the Brushy Mountain Mine and Prison. The secure site for inmates was mountainous, and at the end of the state's convict lease arrangements on January 1st, 1896, 210 of those prisoners became the first inmates of Brushy Mountain. The facility did house an electric chair, and most records indicate there were over 100 executions during the prison's tenure. However, there are conflicting records on how those executions were actually carried out. In 1972, the prison guards went on strike because of unsafe working conditions. Before it closed, a young deer fell off of a cliff. The inmates decided to keep the deer as sort of a pet, and named the deer Geronimo on account of how it became into the prison. They tamed the deer and enjoyed chewing on unlit cigarettes. The prison reopened in 1976. Brushy Mountain was the only non-unionized prison in the state until 1998. Brushy Mountain Prison was administratively joined with Morgan County Correctional Complex. With the joining of the two institutions, Brushy State was finally unionized. The prison is nearly encircled by rugged wooded terrain in a remote section of the Cumberland Plateau adjacent to Frozen Head State Park and Natural Area. One of the fascinating facts about this maximum security prison is it only has 3 walls. It isn't a triangle, but one of the prison walls is actually the side of a mountain. When we came to film, many didn't want to highlight this, but this is one of the main reasons we wanted to go, to see and witness this 3-walled prison. With only 3 walls, it seems like escaping would be easy, but escape attempts were infrequent and unsuccessful. Perhaps the best known escape attempt occurred on June 10, 1977, when James Earl Ray, the man who assassinated Martin Luther King Jr., escaped with 6 other inmates by climbing over a fence. Ray was captured less than 58 hours later in rugged mountain terrain 8.5 miles from the prison. June 17, 1981, Ray was transferred to the Tennessee State Penitentiary in Nashville for his safety, after being stabbed by some fellow inmates after his escape attempt. Ray is said to haunt these very grounds. If you start to recite the I Have a Dream speech near his number 28 cell, people claim to hear a ghostly voice say, "Hush." Some other paranormal encounters are with an inmate called Jack Jett. He was a little person, and he had the misfortune of developing a reputation as someone who snitched on other inmates for having contraband. One evening, while he was making a call to his mother on one of the prison phones, he was stabbed multiple times in the back of the neck and bled to death. Inmates had reported the phone receiver levitating off the hook and then back up to it again. Also, the small phone area was said to have a tremendous cold spot and a general sense of dread when standing there, no doubt from the violent and unexpected death Jett suffered in 1981. Besides James Earl Ray, Brushy State also housed some notorious serial killers, such as Bruce Mendenhall, known as the Truck Stop Killer, convicted of 1 murder and suspected of 10 or more. Paul Dennis Reed Jr., known as the Fast Food Killer, an American convicted and sentenced to death for 7 murders during these fast food restaurant robberies in Tennessee. And Thomas Zooman Husky, a serial killer who murdered 4 women in Knoxville, Tennessee in the early 1990s. Husky is admitted to killings but has never been convicted. The quadruple murder trial was declared mistrial on February 13, 1999. He was sentenced to a 66-year prison term for the raping of the 4 other women. The fictional serial killer Hannibal the Cannibal Lecter also has some history with this penitentiary. Yes, the 5-time Academy Award winner Silence of the Lambs mentioned this prison. In the movie, Dr. Hannibal Lecter makes a deal in which he is to be transferred to Brushy State in exchange for information about the serial killer Buffalo Bill. The information will enable authorities to rescue his latest victim, Catherine Martin, the daughter of Senator Ruth Martin. Hannibal escapes before he arrives at the Brushy State Penitentiary. These are only a few stories that this prison has to offer. Before Brushy Mountain closed on June 11, 2009, it was the oldest operating prison in Tennessee. The prison reopened on August 4, 2018 as a museum, place to do paranormal investigations, and host concerts and other live events as well.
Population of 0 is in my head. Population of 0, it never ends. Gotta keep me moving till the journey's end.